Oh, hello, and welcome to Ardente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have SCP-956 by Trasknari on the SCP Wiki. So, we had a single week reprieve from SCPs.
Yeah, you're starting to kill it.
What?
You're starting to kill SCPs for me.
Oh no,
So many.
shoot. I'm sorry. I mean, oh god.
It's fine.
Well, this one, the reason why we're doing this one is because it was suggested to us by one of our loyal listeners and fan of the show, Charcoalman.
Oh, good old Charcoalman.
Yeah.
That's
they
fine.
actually did some Nightmare Fuel artwork of this one, and they sent that our way. So I was like, yeah. Most of the RSCPs generally come from whenever I see new terrifying art from Charcoalman.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I was like, holy crap, because he's able to like illustrate like haunting like aspects of the SCPs. So
It's pretty great.
yeah, check out his DeviantArt account, guys. It's Charcoalman on .deviantart.com. Anyway, yeah, SCP-956 is obviously on the Foundation's wiki. It's by Trasknari as far as the history of it goes. And I guess I'll just dive into the rundown. So, SCP-956 is a piñata of an unknown quadruped creature, I do in quotes. It is to be contained in a secure cell and away from any and all children of or under the age of 12. This is because SCP-956 has a field of effect which causes it to turn said children into piñata-like beings themselves. I.e., they become brittle, immobile, like unable to move, though aware of their situation. And when SCP-956 is also in contact or in vicinities of these children, it will suddenly become mobile itself and begin bludgeoning the children until they rupture and candy comes out. So apparently they also gestate candy within their bodies as a result of the effect of SCP-956. SCP-956 is when children are not around, it is seemingly just dormant, like just a regular piñata or a seemingly regular piñata. However, it seems to be immune or at least highly resistant to bludgeoning damage, except gunfire, also fireworks. I mean fire. Like, as in, like, flames.
Fire is effective, not
fireworks.
As in...
yeah. Say it with me.
I love the English language. It's so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the English language and your contracted words and your...
Yeah.
So, if the candy from the children is eaten by a child of 12 or like around there, generally they will die. Like they'll get like spasms and seizures and then die. But if the child is younger, there is a chance that they will simply morph into a new SCP-956, in which case they will also, I guess, die or just metamorphosize into a new being.
It's a bad time for a child.
Yeah, you really don't want to be a child around SCP-956 is what I'm getting at here, guys. Recently, the entity artifact 956 was changed from a Keter class to a Euclid class as it began moving around its cell without the presence of children around. And it began like kind of stalking around its cell, and then it would stop periodically at a location on the wall and just kind of stare at that. And it was ascertained that the reason why it was doing that, where it was staring like 1,000-yard stare kind of way, was because that was the direction of a school that was redacted kilometers away from the containment facility. So O5s have decided that if the field of influence, like the sphere, like the parameters in which the field takes effect on children expands out and jeopardizes those children in that neighboring school, 956 will be moved to site redacted. and any and all affected children will be euthanized and their families and friends brainwashed to not know about it.
Super cool of them.
Yeah. Also, any of like chocolates or candies that come out of those affected children will have to be gathered up because we don't want to get this shit spreading. 05 words, kind of paraphrased. Anyway, that's SCP-956. It's a creepy, terrible pinata. So I guess we will move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions at this point, and in fact, I have some.
My God.
Yeah, I know. So start with this one. Permission to bring a subject into the room must be cleared by 05 approval to decrease the occurrence of SCP-956-1 as well as data redacted. And that's the first time I was like, data redacted, like that's the first kind of like case of a redacted note. But then it goes on in the story to use black bars to denote redacted as well. So this is kind of what we've said earlier, like in the past on SCPs. I kind of wish they'd just stick with one type of redacting format.
I'm going to fight you on this one.
Okay.
Like real hard.
All right.
Because I don't remember which SCP we talked about.
It was
before
953, I believe.
Cool, I know what that one is.
It's the Kumiho, the fox team from Korea.
Okay, that helps. Through our discussion on that, we kind of discovered, or at least I thought I did, that basically that the different forms of redaction is kind of like different people taking the file and over time changing it differently, like using their own form of redaction, because there's no like set in stone way that SCP does it. But also,
yeah,
in regards to the section that's like striked through, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Oh no, well there was that, but also like and then later on there's like black bars and when certain things like ingredients to something or black bar. Like from black bar to black bar in terms of like kilometers away from things. Sort of
yeah,
like
basically there's three ways that things are redacted in this.
Yeah.
They're stricken through, black barred, and bracketed redaction. So that's my stance on that,
yeah.
Basically. It's different people doing it. And in the terms of the strike through, I like it because you can see what was taken away. Because it's not super top secret stuff, but like things changed. You know?
I'm actually in agreement with that one. Like that is actually the one case where like that's fine because like I actually love that part where it's just like they completely they've like all right we need to just scratch that out. Read addendum number blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did like that one, but like I just kind of goes back to like the idea is like I understand like other people are editing this and like they have different ways of doing it, but like I do feel like in some cases it's fine when they have different redactions, but for this one I feel like it could have just stayed like as either a black bar or just used like redacted in quotes or in brackets.
Black bars just look so much cooler though.
So
it should just be black bars in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really much of a fight me. Sort of.
Well, I was gonna fight you hard on it because I'm like I really liked the strike through section.
Yeah,
I thought that's not what you were targeting.
No, that's not what I was referring to.
Okay.
But all right, so moving on to my next one. This is actually my last Grammar Inquisition.
Okay.
Any excess SCP-956-1 created by tests with SCP-956 is to be incinerated unless authorized by personnel with security clearance 4 or higher, as are any extraneous instances of SCP-956. So I feel like at the beginning there, like it probably should just be any excess SCP-956-1s or -1 created by tests with SCP-956 are to be incinerated. Just for like since there is kind of a plural context there in that sense.
Pretty much always plural.
Yeah. But so like I just feel like that should actually just be an R. Or R to be. Just so like because it's any excess SCP-956-1, which are the candy bars, are to be incinerated. That's just kind of like at least like to me, I'm pretty sure that's how like you're properly supposed to like build that sentence.
Yes.
Okay. And that's my Grammar Inquisition. So I will hand off the torch to Mikey. The E stands for evil.
All right, I have an it story that consists of 3 it sentences.
Ooh! And now, an it story with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away,
It shows no signs of locomotion or intelligence and displays no hostility. It began to wander around its containment, tracing the perimeter of the room. It did this for about an hour before staring at a spot on the wall. Finn.
I mean, when you read like that, it's practically like a non-threatening. It might as well just be a Keter again.
Yeah.
like I don't see the problem here. It's not hostile.
Just walking around doing nothing.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
Yeah. Because it's a pinata.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, yeah.
Mhm.
Is that all your grammar acquisition?
Yep.
Gamer?
No.
Okay, cool. All right. I mean, it's an SCP. What do we expect, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we'll move on to actual thoughts here. So SCP-956 appears to be a common pinata resembling an unknown quadruped. Really? Because it looks like a unicorn to me, just like from the image and stuff that we get. Now, maybe the image did come later. Like somebody
I gotta
actually
say,
decided.
that's not a horse head.
Hmm?
That's not a horse head at all.
But it's got it's a unicorn. Like, it's a stylized cartoon unicorn.
Oh, yeah? Okay, I'll take a picture of a cat and put a unicorn horn on its head, and I'll call it a unicorn. Does that work?
Okay. Yeah, it's a catacorn.
Catacorn.
Or it's a unicat. Or a unicorn.
Yeah. Everyone knows about them.
Yeah. Preferred skills in magic. Like a liger. But yeah, no, I like that where it's like unknown quadruped, and then we clearly have an image of it. It's like that just looks like a unicorn.
I'm fighting you on that a little bit.
All right, that's fine. I guess
it doesn't look like a horse.
I will admit that is like kind of like it's a personal perspective sort of thing.
Right.
Like I see a schooner when you see a bunch of clouds.
All right, gamer. I have to ask: have you seen a unicorn in real life?
Yeah, daily.
It won't stop
I have one
pestering
at
my
my house.
dad out in the yard.
Yeah.
I told him to stop feeding it, but is that the end of discussion?
Pretty much.
Duh. All right. Yeah.
I don't care enough to really fight you on that.
Wow. Okay, well that's fair. Like, I mean, again, like it is like that. My first like go to with that was, but I guess there is like that is subjective. So
It's unicorn-like, but because it's so cartoonily and stylized, you can't really tell what base animal it's supposed to be. It just has a unicorn horn. So because we know unicorns, we default to unicorn. And then I said I wasn't going to fight you on it. Then I continued fighting.
And then you continue fighting me on it. It's like, yeah, all right, fair enough.
That's my secret. I'm always fighting.
I'm always contrary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you, the viewer, or you, the listener, check out the image at SCP Foundation for SCP-956, and let us know in the comments what you think that animal looks like. So I will move on to my next one here. This is part of my like I guess kitchen sink area, like kind of thing, like kitchen segment, where like come up with ideas for the creature for like a game or scenario or something like that. But I'm gonna start with this quote here. Tests have revealed that, although superficially similar to paper mache, SCP-956 is constructed from various amounts of glue, redacted, sugar, and unidentified fur and human tissue. And I just like had this like really weird idea. Just stay with me for a second. It's like, oh god,
no.
This is some horrible alchemist or alchemical mishap created centuries ago by a mad sorcerer in an attempt to reconstruct the mythical unicorns of old. But something went horribly wrong when he thought he had used the right mythological samples. Now this homunculus-like construction of a pinata basilisk in unicorn's clothing. Perhaps as part of the experiment gone wrong, its reproductive mechanism is a virulent cloning technique tied to its petrification field that basilisks are known to have mythologically. Using lesser prey, in fact, even as a gestation material for creating a cloned copy of itself when the right conditions are met. That's my headcanon anyway. Just some mad Spaniard or sorcerer created this, like accidentally created a like creepy like he was trying to create a like revive an extinct species of a mythological nature and accidentally cloned the wrong one or accidentally constructed the wrong one.
So what would you say that the redacted ingredient is?
Probably I would probably go with, it's probably like if it's some kind of homunculus construct, it's probably the catalyst for like life in that regard. I can't remember, like I'm my alchemy's a little rusty, guys. So I can't remember what exactly else is used for creating a homunculus other than like maybe it's mandrake root. Because I know that mandrake root is sometimes used for homunculus, or though that might also just be the reason why people thought homunculuses existed was because the mandrake root looks like a person when you grow them.
Hey,
yeah.
Neat.
But
have you not been keeping up with your daily alchemy?
No, I haven't. I've been slacking off. I've been getting prepackaged stuff lately. I know. Yeah. Hey man, we're we're still in quarantine, so I had to order online.
Yeah, I mean, I guess do what you gotta do.
Yeah. But yeah, that's one part of my kitchen segment here. The other one is Cthulhu Make It Better. And I'm going to start with this mention here, so I can find it. Where the hell's my notes? Okay, here we go. So this is regards to when it how it affects people, like the children and stuff. So autopsy of unbrokenness. God damn it. Autopsy of unbroken victims show that their body had severely dehydrated, leaving them brittle. Autopsy also revealed that pieces of SCP-956-1 had begun to grow out of the victim's organs, using the tissue as a component. So with this, I was sort of this description of how it petrifies somebody, or how it turns the child into a piñata, basically. I was kind of reminded of some Delta Green material currently being worked on by Adam Scott Glancy, one of the creators of Delta Green, for Ghatanothoa, which is a mythos god or being that doesn't get a lot of love in scenarios, and they're basically like a gorgon. They've got the petrification kind of appearance just by looking at their visage. And in some of these games that he's working on, the petrification effect that Ghatanothoa has kind of seems similar to me, minus the candy growing from the body, but the dehydration mummification sort of process that happened here, with the brittle, creating the brittle body by dehydrating it and such, even though the person is still alive and well within. And if they were to have an autopsy, they'd find that the organs at the very core of the body are still have functioning blood and stuff like that, and it's still very much alive, but from the outside it's basically like a husk. And just to sort of, and even short viewings of this godling creature, say a single frame from a movie projection would render you paralyzed or permanently paralyzed, but still alive in a kind of a halfway state between being a full on petrified mummy to a healthy person. So now just imagine adding the candy growth phenomena of this SCP, and to borrow from my friend Tara, who's been working on a kind of a sauce man mythos entity where it's very Cthulhu culinary horror scenarios.
Interesting combination.
Yeah. Where you have the piñata brought in for a kid's birthday party, and it is in fact a candy gorgon. And that's your scenario, right? That's the start of your scenario. You're going to a children's birthday party where a bunch of the kids have just been horribly monstrous. Now there might be some trigger warning there. There might be some content issues there that you might want to make sure your players are comfortable with. But that would definitely work for a candy based cosmic horror scenario.
Definitely.
What?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. And then let's see what else I have here. And this, so regards to the creature's bludgeoning resistance. So it's 956 has also shown to be highly resistant to any sort of bludgeoning damage, with large amounts of crushing force showing no damage to its structural integrity. Though the use of gunfire, as well as heat and flame, have shown to be effective. So I kind of want to see someone do a short film where they use a compactor on this SCP, and the SCP just utterly destroys the compactor.
Oh man, that'd be sick.
Like a short film that's mocked up to be research footage at the Foundation, sort of how some of the the footage is in like District 9 when they're like testing like the alien like constructed like weapons and tools and stuff.
Yeah.
And even like have like they do that part, like they do that like that's first stage, is where they're trying to like just compress it, and then you just see the compressor or the compactor just break or just like warp and stuff from like trying to crush it. Like you see, I mean, if you haven't seen them on YouTube, there's tons of videos of people like will it press sort of video where they have like industrial
there's an entire channel
presses.
for that.
Yeah, they have
Yeah.
industrial presses, and it just like they press down like and to see like what kind of how a object is going to react to it, and most like 100% of the time, I've yet to see a video of those where the compressor breaks, but I just want to see that happen with this. Like, oh, will this pinata break? And then like it happens, like, oh god, what the fuck's going on with the compactor? And then after the dust settles, you just see like there's just this hole where that SCP-956 is like broken through the pressing like I guess the industrial press, and it's in perfect condition, but like everything, there's just this twisted metal around it. I think that would be really fun to like as a video, but like it takes some visual effects to do, but I think that would definitely be an interesting like SCP Foundation like mock-up video to see, just to kind of show the weirdness of some of their entities.
Yeah, definitely. Like I could see like Corridor Digital or something taking that.
I'm
awesome.
like, yeah, that's very, yeah. If Corridor Digital could do that,
Yeah,
that'd be
go ahead
cool.
and do that.
If you're listening out there, man, that would be really awesome. So like a couple of like months down the road, we see that.
Just shows up. It's like, oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah. So moving on to my next one here. So yeah, SCP enters its active state when a human under the age of 12 years enters within redacted meters of it. Approximately redacted to redacted seconds after entering the active zone, the child becomes unable to move, holding in any stance they had at that time. The victim is incapable of motion or speech, although it remains alive, and its rapidly moving eyes suggest that it retains awareness. SCP-956 then begins to move towards the victim and bludgeon them to death, rupturing their torso and spilling out the candy. So I was paraphrasing by the end there because I realized I'd written I copied down like a whole paragraph, but
Like the entire story.
yeah. But like, here's the thing about this entry. Why isn't this SCP not more well known? Like everyone used to think of SCP-173, the creepy art project guy in the corner of a basement. Like if you see the image,
The thing that moves when you blink.
exactly. And like at least everybody I talked to when I talked about SCPs, that was the one that they always talked about.
Yeah.
And it's the one that gets the most highlight. But like honestly, this one's the way more cooler version of that. Like it doesn't move when you blink or anything like that, but it has similar kind of locomotion, or at least similar kind of like appearance and nature, because it's like an art project versus like a paper mache pinata. However, this thing has way more creepier and horrific actions and abilities than SCP-173. Like SCP-173 just kills you if you blink while you're looking at it. Like it animates and kills you because it's quantumly locked. So like as soon as somebody stops looking at it, it's able to move around.
Mhm.
This thing specifically like has a field of effect that transmutes human children into pinatas. And then it will itself go and kill them, or like at least dispense the candies that are growing or gestating inside of their bodies. Like that is so much creepier and horrific than like a simple like a blink assassin.
It's a different kind of creepy, and also like you and me, we could
Yeah.
go and just pick this pinata up and it doesn't matter. Like it's no threat to us. So to anyone that is old enough to read the SCPs, it's not a threat to them.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get why the other one, which number lose me?
173.
Even though you just said it. Yeah, that one. Where that one will just kill you regardless. And
Yeah.
it's like a superhero with the speed it moves. It's like the Flash just punching you and killing you. Like you don't see it coming.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's a
I'm not saying that it's better or worse. It's just a different kind of horror, you know?
Yeah. I guess I'm just a little like sad that this one doesn't get enough love because I really like how this one is like how it is just as an SCP entry and an entity, and I wish it got more love. And I'm then going to go on to the next part here, which is so from the description, as long as the item or the item's activation as long as the items require wow, okay. So this is the part that's like kind of scrawled out or scratched out. As long as the item's activation requirement is not met, the item will remain in this state indefinitely, and that's the immobile state. And then it's that all is scratched out, and it says see addendum 956-A. And then we get to -A 956-A addendum. SCP-956 has recently begun to show locomotion outside of testing. It began to wander around its containment, tracing the perimeter of the room. It did this for about an hour before staring at a spot on the wall. Review of footage shows that it's faced this wall after deactivation during previous tests. Security has confirmed that 956 is facing directly towards an elementary school. The school is redacted kilometers away. Reclassification to Euclid status requested. Dr. N redacted. Holy crap! Like I like this showing of like showing the process and horror of reclassification of an entity. Like the crossed out bit at the top, like we were saying earlier, like how it gets crossed out, and then like see addendum 956-A, and then getting that kind of horror of like why it's been reclassified. It's like it's hunting basically, or it's sniffing out its prey, which are children under the age of 12.
Pretty much.
And yeah, like it's just a really cool reveal of showing like that like this shit changes and we don't know why, or the reason or the reasons it changes have like terrible like implications like when it's finally revealed. And that's part of the horror of SCPs that I love, and just like cosmic horror in general, just like that revelation drop. It's like, oh shit. And then we get this part here right after that request. Reclassification to Euclid granted. If its effects appear to reach beyond its containment, it is to be transferred to Site redacted, which should keep it far enough away from potential victims. Retrieve any paralyzed victims or SCP-956-1s, and administer Class A amnestics to witnesses and family. We don't need any more of these things around. 05 redacted. Oh god. So this is another part of my like kind of scenario fodder kind of idea here. So here's the scenario where the worst has happened. This thing breaches containment with its field of influence, and before the Foundation could get all of them, like get all of the affected materials, some of SCP-956-1 went missing, or worse, it's Halloween.
Oh fuck.
You could have this. You could have a sort of doomsday scenario similar to Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, where maybe it's not even like the Foundation. Like maybe this is like before the Foundation got a hold of this thing. Maybe there's just some dude who owns like a candy factory, and he's using SCP-956, like and harvesting 956-1 for a world-ending purpose. Like maybe he's a mad cultist to whatever culinary cosmic horror first birthed this entity. Sort of in the vein of Season of the Witch, where it's just like we need to bring blood back to Halloween. And what better way than to kill all the children? Spoilers for Season of the Witch, by the way.
A little bit.
But it's a similar kind of scenario in terms of like this, it would be a really interesting. Like, I guess you could even do it in Shadowrun to a degree. Just like a small time corporation that's like gone mad, and they're planning on killing like all the children or turning them all into SCP-956. And the runners are like going into the corporation as part of like a run for a rival corporation. It's like, oh man, their candies are so good. We need to figure out what's going on. Like maybe the corporation, like the evil, the mad corporation has like figured out a way to like time effect or like to basically set like a timer on the effects of the chocolate. So like on the stroke of Halloween, that's when the effects start taking effect on the 12-year-olds. Oh god, that could be horror. That could be like a really weird horror, like just super like weird horror sort of Shadowrun game.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah, that's my actual thoughts for SCP-956. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
Alright, let's see here. So, speaking of witches, I view this as more of a witch's curse gone too far.
Oh yeah.
So, basically, she cursed a kid and it's like, "You like piñatas, do you? Well, I hope you like being one forever."
Yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that even in like, cause like piñatas generally, I think culturally they're from Mexico and Spain, probably more, I think Mexico. And I know that like folklore wise, Mexico has a lot of witch lore, like a lot of like cursing witches or wrathful witches in their folklore. So yeah, that would definitely fit the bill for a for what a witch in that area would definitely do.
Mhm. Yeah, so, and the way I see it is the kid goes to a birthday party,
Mm.
ends up destroying the piñata before the birthday kid even has a chance to see it.
Yeah.
So that royally pisses off the mother, who happens to be a witch,
Or the grandmother.
or the grandmother, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And she curses the kid.
It's actually just Paranormal Activity, I want to say 3, where you find out that the entire family is just a coven of witches.
Really?
Yeah, there's I think like you find out like on the mother's side that like they're part of a coven that has been like that's like again wow, I'm spoiling a lot of movies in this.
You really are.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, going into the psychology of the SCP 5 or 956, maybe it just wants to hang out with kids its age, which is around 12 years old.
Oh god, you've
And,
made this sympathetic.
How dare you?
and
You've made a sympathetic The Thing. Like the
Made
thing
it a
from
buddy horror.
yeah, oh my god, you've made because it's just lonely because it's the only cursed it's cursed to be a piñata, and the only way for it to have actual friends or that it thinks like actual friends like to be like it so it's not lonely all the time is to make new friends literally. Oh my god.
yep.
I don't hate that. In fact, I want to see that.
Wish that was written in the story.
No, damn you, sir. Damn you once again.
Yep.
God, that could, like I kind of want to make a monster of the childish things monster friend now. That's just like this pinata, but like he can focus his attack and like his like because he's like a terrible monster thing. Like his like the kid doesn't know this, but the monster's actual goal for the kid is that he's going to turn the kid into one of him again at some point.
Fuck.
That'd be such a okay. I might have to run a monster of the childish things campaign called just called Buddy Horror, and it's just all the monster kids and their monsters are these creepy like creepypasta dynamic like buddy horror scenarios like situations
where it's not gonna turn out good either way.
Yeah. Damn,
Yeah.
I love buddy horror so much.
It is great.
Yeah. All right. And the next thing I have here is what happens if you have two SCP-956 in the same room? Like, do they attack each other, or
are they like
Clearly
beta
not,
fish?
because they're friends, right?
Yeah, unless they're like beta fish where there can only be one, or they they get like super aggressive toward one another.
Yeah,
because like depending on how much they really want to convert and destroy children, if there's two of them there, they'd be fighting for the chance to do it, right?
Yeah, or maybe they just start grazing. They just start like just start like roaming around the cell like actual horses or like animals.
Yeah. Well,
they merge together into a bigger pinata.
I was also thinking that. I was just like they start floating above the ground and then just like smashed into each other into like this horrible amalgam of like paper mache flesh. Fusion. Oh!
Except it's like human centipede, where like the second one just goes over the head of the first one.
Yeah.
And then they
or yeah, it goes that horrible way, or it's like you get two of these things. Like so, the first one, like again, I'm going off of my idea that it's a unicorn. So you get the unicorn thing, and then two of them becomes a paper mache pinata centaur. then like it keeps growing. Basically, it keeps evolving. It's a fucking Pokemon,
Yeah, it really is.
or it's a Digimon. It has Digivolution.
Yeah.
Again, not helping my ideas, like not helping stave off my ideas for Monster and the Childish Things, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, just continuing that thought, like that scenario seems like something that could easily be added to this.
Yeah.
Of what happens if there's two in the same room. Like, considering we know that if a kid eats the candy, they could become an identical version of it.
Like, because they know that that's happened, you would think that they would have two of these at least.
Well, remember they try to like. Well, it seems like they basically have decided like, all right, we have let's just have one at all times. We'll burn the rest.
Yeah.
The child's gone. It's like, but sir, there might be nope. There's no gray area in the SCP Foundation. It's all black and white, except for that except for that room that's storing all the candies. Apparently, did anybody else keep up like notice that?
It's only storing 10 of them.
Yeah. Oh no, not 10. It's redacted instances.
I thought there was a straight up number on it.
No, it's redacted instances of SCP-956-1 are kept in a neighboring room and are to be maintained at a temperature of -4 degrees Celsius in order to prevent melting and destruction.
Yes, but that redacted thing is only 2 characters wide, so it's
that's true. I mean,
10 and 99.
Yeah, exactly. It's between 10 and 99. Still, why even bother keeping the candy if there's such a biohazard? Basically,
research.
I guess. Why would you want to research? Like, why? That's the other thing. Why do they want to research that kind of thing? I guess maybe to find an antidote. Maybe
you read any SCP ever.
That's true.
They always research everything.
That's true. Well, except for SCP 902.
Oh no.
Yeah. That one's to be contained in a facility with 50 security officers at all times, and no research is to be done whatsoever.
It's for the blood sacrifice.
Yeah, of course. It's for the greater good.
Mm-hmm. We're doing great work here.
Yep.
All right, and that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. Then, Gamer, you're up.
Okay. I don't have too many, but I'll read what I have. Right from the start, just reading that the object class was crossed off, that made me really curious what was going to happen to have that change be visible.
Yeah.
Also, I think that's the first time that the object class has been redacted in any way.
It's definitely a first for me as well. I don't think I don't recall ever seeing any of the other ones I've ever read where they've changed the Euclid's or the status. So
then it goes on to explain the room, saying it's 18 by 18 by 4, and it's made of concrete. So do they mean the room is 18 wide, 18 deep, and 4 foot tall?
Oh Jesus!
Why is it so short when they say that they bring subjects in there? Oh, right, because they bring children there. So that it doesn't need to be adult height.
Also, that's terrifying now that I think about it. The fact that they have D-class 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I was going to get onto that.
Okay, sorry. That's a good segue then.
Oh, yeah. Where is that one? Yeah.
Well, 4 meters tall isn't...
That isn't... Yeah,
it's meters, not feet.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah.
That helps a little bit.
Yeah, that does help a lot. Holy shit.
There we go. That's the one. Jesus Christ. So yeah, 956-1's effects vary depending on the age of the human consuming them. At 12 or older, they have a seizure and die. A percentage of dying, and then less than that, they're just always dying and turning into another one of these, right? As soon as I read that, I'm like, SCP are doing tests on kids less than 12 years. D-class goes that young?
I mean,
that's some harsh juvie penalties.
Exactly. It's so I gotta tell a horror story from my childhood,
right?
Where I was a bit of a shit heel occasionally.
Shit heel?
Yeah, I was I was threw tantrums and stuff like that. And so my dad kind of he didn't mean to. He wasn't actually going to do it, but he threatened me with sending me to the Bad Boys Club, which was basically juvie for people under 12, and it traumatized me as a child because I just thought of this horrible child prison that I would end up on. I would end up at, and yeah, it was just sort of one of those things. Is this is what where I imagine I would have ended up. I think of the SCP, basically the SCP Foundation's D-class juvie.
It's just so fucked up.
It really is.
I get how they have a whole bunch of D-class adults because prisons. Look at the prisons. Like,
I mean, there are children that are criminals, like are serial killers. Like I don't have any real world examples because I didn't want to
Well,
look that kind of shit up. But like
Yeah.
Michael Myers was, I think, under 12 when he murdered his sister and went to that rehabilitation, or went to the not even it was like not even rehabilitation, but like just went to a
facility of some kind.
a
Yes.
facility, yeah, to try and get help, and like he spent like 20 years there.
Mhm.
And I think he was under the age of 12 when that happened in that movie. So like fiction wise, there are people like that, and I know for a fact that there are real world examples, but I just don't have any actual names to them. But
okay,
it is
fair
still
enough.
fucked up.
When I first
It
read
is
it
still,
out, it was sounding like they were just grabbing kids randomly. Like, we need one. We're gonna borrow this one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, like if you don't know anything about like who the D class people are when they're using them, yeah, this is super unethical, and like there's horror in that aspect right there. It's like where the Foundation is corrupt and using like children for like inhumane like experiments with these alien entities and artifacts.
Yeah.
But I guess, and again, I'm not defending this. Like this is fiction. This is fiction. But I'm not defending this. It's like they are it's not much different from D class, like the use of D class, like using regular people, like adult people. If they are in fact criminals of like such a high order, where like they'd be getting where these children would be getting the death penalty otherwise.
It just seems so extra fucked up when it's a kid.
You're 100% right. It is super
Yeah.
fucked up. Like, I think there's definitely an added like skeeviness to this. It's probably also maybe why this SCP isn't as well known, is because it kind of deals with like body horror to children.
Yeah.
And people get really skeevy and kind of squiggy when it comes to children in horror. So,
Mhm.
there's a little bit of extra baggage.
They've at least grabbed like 10 D class, because there's a section where it's like they have between redacted and redacted pieces of candy in them after being turned, and that's like between 2 characters and 4 characters. So you'd think that they would have to do at least 3 or 4 instances to get that variance, right?
That depends on the on how much candy grows out of a human child.
Oh, it says why. Like, they found out it's dependent on how long they're basically in their pinata form before being destroyed. That's how much candy comes out.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, like, in terms of how much can a body hold in terms of the candy that's growing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And again, like pinatas, like I've seen pinatas that have like that skimp out on the candies, and then ones that are just bloated with candy. So, like, I could see like that a high number coming out of a pinata. So I could see a high number, I guess, coming out of a child.
Oh, for sure. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I had to have absolute minimum 2 tests. Anyways,
it's still fucked up. I think that's what we're trying to get at here. It's like really fucked up. They're using D-class children.
Yeah.
Again, it just kind of adds to the horror of the Foundation itself, like the bureaucratic horror. Like, it's got that kind of cold corporate sort of feel now to it a little bit, like just uncaring of human life.
It doesn't really show that they've really learned too much about it, aside from just like what they knew from the get-go. Like, it affects kids, and if you eat the candy, it's bad, but they haven't really figured out a way to stop it or whatever. I mean, they could just shoot it. Like, it'd be done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could just destroy the thing. I think they were trying. Again, this is kind of one of those things where like the researchers are like Cthulhu are dealing with like a Cthulhu thing. So like they're gonna go mad because there is no, like, they're hoping to find a cure probably for the process that happens, but they're never gonna find it because it's so beyond us that we can't. Like, it's just like kind of it's sort of a lose-lose scenario.
So if they're trying to find a cure, would they just have like a storage room of all the SCPs that have been turned in, like the D class that have been turned into SCPs, just have them in storage?
No, I think they terminate them. I think like they terminate all but like one.
Then what the hell are they trying to find a cure for if they're killing all of them anyways?
That might be like the issue. It's like, sir, maybe if, like, are you sure we should keep? Us like, no, like, one of these things is enough. It's like, but sir, like, what if we can rehabilitate them? It's like, what if we do find a cure and then we've destroyed all the roads? Like, don't. question us,
No.
or you will receive Class A amnestics.
Want some candy?
Exactly.
No.
You asked too many questions. Here, have some candy.
I figured it out. They're trying to make a vaccine so that they can eat the candy and not suffer the effects.
Dude, too real.
Because it's so delicious.
Mhm.
Incredibly delicious.
Oh,
However,
God.
it's people.
Yeah, it's Soylent Green, the Soylent Green Candy Company,
Mhm.
and for to continue to get the triple thread. Spoiler alert: Soylent Green is people. There, I did it.
Spoilers,
I
jeez.
spoiled 3 movies today.
Anything else we could spoil? Wizard of Oz is about a guy behind a curtain.
What? No.
Spoilers!
Ah.
You know what, Darth Vader? Luke Skywalker's dad.
No, that's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Oh God.
All right, let's move on from this. So it moves on to discussing the security of it, saying, unless we're testing, individuals fulfilling 956's activation requirements are not to be brought within 200 meters of the containment area. But just said after it has like armed guards, and this is before I know what the requirements are for activation. So I'm like, I hope the posted guards don't fulfill the activation requirements. But now that they're children, it's probably not going to be guards that are children. So that's
Unless
fine. Exactly.
they're really dumb.
Yeah, it depends if this is a branch that's in Derpland or not.
Yeah, I mean, so far they've been kind of derpy in terms of their like how they're treating how they're like working on this thing.
Well, it's not that they're being derpy. It's just like we kind of brushed on it already. I don't see why they're keeping it alive.
Yeah,
because they're not doing any research on it.
It does seem like kind of a like burn it with like destroy it with fire sort of like situation where it's like there is no cure, so we should just work on containment, i.e., making sure none of these exist.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with a cure. It's they're trying to figure out what makes it tick. At least as far as I know.
Unless, and this is kind of like painting the SCP Foundation in a more sinister light. Unless they're researching it to make basically a bioweapon against some kind of foreign power or enemy.
Yeah,
like there are enemies of the Foundation, so like maybe they're researching, like they're basically weapons developing this entity. It is definitely a darker, like we're definitely kind of like maybe thinking a little bit too hard on it, but we are definitely kind of gleaning a darker side of the Foundation with this entry, and it's like the implications.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what like even the children as D class aside,
that alone makes it skeevy.
Yeah.
It gets on to talking about what it's constructed of, like glue, redacted sugar, unidentified fur, and human tissue. As soon as I read human tissue, I'm like, wait, human tissue is not redacted? What the hell is redacted then?
Yeah, exactly.
I figured redacted would be the one that's the most worrisome, you know? But maybe it is still.
Yeah, like I think they might have like not had the had the human tissue redacted because they're going to mention later that like the candies and stuff are made from human tissue because of the gestation period.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I am curious as to what the redacted is because like mine was like, wait, they redacted something but not the unidentified fur. Like it just seems
the
like
fur is less creepy than human tissue inside this thing.
I think it would. I just think like both of them would have probably been redacted as well.
Yeah, because they're not just like mundane, normal things.
Yeah, but again, that is also why a lot of people use the redacted format for SCP, and why SCP is kind of like popular or exciting is because like they will redact something to just have you wonder what the fuck they redacted. So yeah, like we're just kind of like wondering what the hell that redacted is. It's probably like they probably didn't even come up with anything. Like if we're thinking like if we're looking behind the curtain to reference Oz again, the authors probably just like put redacted there as like kind of a tease, like because like they're relying on the whole like the person, like your reader can imagine something much more horrific than what you can offer.
No, that makes me think now. When people write SCPs, do you think they put all the numbers and all the redacteds in? Like the actual terms, and then go over it with redactions.
Some might, although I think there's also an equal amount of people that probably just do redacted, like just do like
just do like approximately X to Y seconds.
Yeah,
and then redact it out. Yeah,
like they might even like for this one. I think a lot of the number ones are probably had an idea as to what they wanted to have there, so they just redacted it and like judged it for that.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, like I'm sure like other ones are just like they're just like haha, redacted here. Have fun trying to
Redact
decipher
everything.
this.
Oh god, I wonder if there's one that's just like 50% redactions.
I mean, to be fair, that's a lot of classified like documents in like governments and stuff.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, it's just like redacted like 5 pages and then like a single word like puppy.
Like the. Damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be there, so it's like, oh, no one can see this, and I'm pantomiming for the audio podcast format of our show. I'm pantomiming like somebody using a marker and just like going across a page, just blacking out the entire lines, and just going to the next line and redacting, and the next line.
Might be easier to just do this. Gets a bucket of black paint, pops the top out, and just dips the paper in it and pulls it back out. There we go.
No, because there's got to be something in there that they won't redact, like the.
Yeah. For sure. Moving on. It starts like it took a long time to get to telling us what SCP 956-1 was. So I thought it was kind of fun how it was like for me as a reader. It took me a while to figure out what it was because it took a while to even say what it was. And most of the time, SCPs when they talk about -1s, it's a person who's been changed by the SCP. So. Yeah. I was kind of going into this expecting that, like the extra room that had instances of -1s in it were just like just people that were affected by this in some way.
Yeah,
but not so much.
Yeah, then we find out it's Candy. That's from the previous victims of SCP-956.
Also, the second room. Now that I think about it, it's also 1818 by 4. It's a huge room to have like 50 pieces of candy in it.
It probably has like it's probably this huge room because like they're probably all made like uniform. If this facility is is not custom made, if it's like a sort of like procedurally made like building, like a regular building, and then they probably like were expecting to start housing other ones, but then they decided to get rid of those ones and just store like some of the candies. So it's probably just like this huge, expansive room. And then a single table in the middle with a plate of with a bowl of candy. It's a bowl. It's a Halloween bowl of candy.
Yeah, totally. The jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
Oh, God, now that I'm thinking about it, what the hell is the room that big for? It's not for containment thing because you can't be within 200 meters of the damn thing.
No, like I'm saying, like I was my reasoning for like why the Foundation would do that is just like they didn't make that room custom. Like they don't make these rooms custom. Yeah. They make them uniform. So like this room is probably supposed to be most of the time for another SCP entity, or like the next room over is also 18 by 18 by 4, sort of thing, right?
But wouldn't it just say like I'm pretty sure in some SCPs I've read it says like this SCP must be kept in a standard containment room. Like it uses that kind of vernacular, but so because it's so specific, saying 1818 by 4, it sounds like there's a reason it has to be like that.
Maybe.
There isn't a reason in this, but that's the way it sounded to me the entire time.
Yeah, my behind the scenes kind of reasoning for it is that again, like because SCPs are not written by a singular person, they're a community. Everybody has a different way of writing these entities, even though they have they have kind of a baseline format. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a different way of writing. So my guess is like this is just the individual writer came up with this format. Though it does, as soon as you said like, oh, they have a standard containment room. It's like, and then we now know what a standard containment room is sized up as 18 by 18 by 4.
The case. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm joking here, but like it's like that's kind of what I was like thinking when you said that.
For sure.
But yeah. Also, that room is that would be a bitch to keep like temperatured like to -4 degrees with like an air conditioner and shit.
Yeah, that's true. You figure they'd make that smaller.
Exactly. Yeah, they make it like a freezer. Like even a walk-in freezer is not that big. So
then I got a couple more. -1's effects, or actually, whoops. And then my last note is you've kind of already touched on it. Basically, just the fact that it's wandering around and facing the elementary school that's kilometers away. Like when I read that, that's like legit creepy. Just to know that there's a group, like it knows that there's a grouping of its victims over there, and it's gonna get to it at some point. Just how it's like it's thinking.
No, that's thinking. Yeah, exactly. Like it's like I'm trying to think of a good like analogy or like an example that I've seen because this reminds me of something. It's like It's like if one of my like I'm looking at one of my DVD cases and stuff. It's like if one of those just like hopped off the shelf and started like climbing up the wall, at like the time when like my niece is coming home from like.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like it's that kind of like it shouldn't be doing that. Why is it doing? That's cosmic horror. Like that's the horror of of like Lovecraftian horror. It's like why is it doing that? Holy shit! Like it's that out of context terrifying.
Mm.
At least that's how I kind of type of
For sure, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Like hence why I said like that scene was legit creepy there.
Yeah. Also, I will say I'm kind of surprised that like you were like that you actually had a positive reaction to the to like finding out like this is with regards to SCP-956-1 like when you weren't sure what it was and you had to like build up on it like what it was and then we get to the reaction that it was a chocolate. When you said like you liked that, I was like, wait, really? Gamer in Yellow reacted that well?
It's basically the way it's explained. It just wasn't annoying because they
That's
weren't
fair.
saying anything specific to -1 that you had to know what it was first.
Yeah.
They're just saying like it makes -1. It's like okay, cool. We'll figure out what -1 is later, I guess.
I will say like
I was
even when it
pleasantly
was
surprised
like,
with it.
I don't know, I just like because sometimes like you do have a you don't like that the way like a story like leads you on like constantly until like you get to a point. But
Yeah, I guess it's on a case by case basis because this does fall into the same category as me needing to rewrite what I drew in my head from reading this. It does kind of fall in that same category, but because it didn't say what -1 was, like I said before, I assume -1 is just a person that's been changed by the SCP. And granted, it was, but I figured it would still be person-like in a way. It'd
Yeah.
just be like it turns into some weird monster or whatever the hell. So I wasn't entirely wrong making that assumption from the get-go.
No.
But it being candy or it being a person doesn't change. Like that change wouldn't have changed anything leading up to saying what it was because they were vague about it.
Yeah, and I mean like again like I shared the kind of similar thing because like when they first mentioned -1 in regards to that room and like the -4, it's like all right, so I'm guessing it's like probably the same thing or maybe it turns people into chocolate maybe.
Mhm.
Like maybe it's that horrible commercial of like that Hershey's commercial where the guy gets turned into chocolate.
I don't know that commercial.
It's terrifying. A dude gets turned into chocolate and then he waddles around as a human-sized chocolate bar.
Nice.
But he's human shaped as well, and people and like women start like falling onto him and then like eating him.
They're not going, oh god.
No, it's like they're turned on by him and then they start eating him. It's really creepy and gross. It's weird. And then the sun comes out and he starts melting.
Wasn't he eaten or not completely?
No, like something like they were nibbling him.
Okay, that is a lot of chocolate. To be fair.
But yeah, no, that's kind of where I was going. It's like, all right, -4 degrees. So it was like it's got to keep under cold temperatures. So maybe it's like this thing, or maybe it's something to do with chocolate since it's a piñata. And then yeah, we got that it's the chocolate within the bodies of the people that this thing affects. It's like, god damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end of my notes.
All right. So we'll move on to final thoughts. I'm gonna recommend it. It could definitely use some editing just for like just some small stuff. But it's a neat, creepy SCP entity and object, or sorry, entry. Like it's a really neat, creepy SCP entry and object / organism. Because again, like,
it
is
moves.
it alive?
It thinks.
Yeah, it knows. So yeah, I would definitely, and I would 100% use this as fodder for like a game scenario. Like
You have already.
I've
thought of the ideas.
Yeah, I've numbered off like 3 or 4 different ideas for like a scenario. So in different settings and systems. So yeah, it's definitely worth the read to get inspired. So I recommend. Mikey, D stands for evil.
Hi. So I enjoyed this one. It was an interesting read. And the idea that it's a cursed child that just wants to make a friend.
I love that so much. It's so adorable and horrible at the same time. It's adorable. Like it's horrible.
It makes adorable and horrible. It makes adorable.
Damn it. No, it makes adorable, but with a silent H.
Adorable.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna recommend this one.
No.
No. Use that again. But no. I'm saying no to your no, not no to this.
Yeah, I get you.
Confusing. I enjoyed the read. Like I said, I liked how creepily like stalkerish this sort of thing is. Like it knows that the children are over there and all that.
It follows.
I do wish the SCP did more with it in regards to experimentation on it and like why they're keeping it here.
Yeah.
Because if they're not trying to figure out what makes it tick or where it came from, then they're just keeping a potentially world-ending threat here.
Yeah.
At least in the eyes in regards to children, it could like end all the children.
Yeah.
If it
Like
just keeps spreading,
Yeah, like given I mean the fact that SCP Foundation is not a perfect group. There is definitely room for corruption. I could see like an agent kind of getting in, taking this object out, and then like basically starting a doomsday around it. Like harvesting the chocolate and selling it like around like a time of like Halloween or something like that to create more and just have like that would be and again that's a good game scenario. Just like your agents that are trying to get back this object and oh shit, an entire neighborhood has been morphed into this thing, or like a whole neighborhood's like population of like under 12-year-olds have been turned into these things, and it just spreads like wildfire because like they start moving out. Like what if this thing was not in that cell when it was like it almost has me wondering like, so when it's moving around its cell and before it stops at that one spot, is it moving around in conjunction to the school buses that are going back and forth to school?
Oh wow!
Like that was a thought that came to mind like while reading this, and now it's like, is that why it was moving?
It would have to be, the facility would have to be really close to a school for that case to be.
Apparently, they are within like two. I think they're in 2 digits of in terms of kilometers to a school.
Yeah, but there could be 99.
Yeah, still, yeah.
But if they're in the upper era or the upper side of that number, then they'd be so far away, like the bus movements, that it wouldn't dictate him moving to different walls. They would still be on that one wall.
Yeah, it's true. But still, it's a creepy thing to think about, though.
Yes, 100%. And I do wonder what would happen if there was no wall there. Like, would he just slowly walk towards the school and then turn those kids, and then all those kids that turned will be picking like different schools and just slowly walk to those schools?
Yeah, it's just basically like I'm visualizing this as like a dot going to this one point, and then it just like spreading out to multiple dots, like exponentially outward.
Yeah.
Like yeah. We got a pinata pandemic.
It's a pinata pandemic.
Damn it, Jinx!
Damn. Shit.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh god. I'm surprised that hasn't become a movie.
Pinata pandemic.
Yeah.
It does sound silly.
Is that what a group of pinatas are? A pandemic of pinatas?
It is now.
Oh god. We choke because otherwise we'd be crying.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, I do. Also, usually like, it slowly walks over. It's like I'm kind of like picturing that other SCP where it's just running like full tilt, like a. It's a quadruped, so it's running pretty fast on 4 legs.
It doesn't have knees though.
So it's just like doing this like stilt walking, like stilt running.
Just really fast though.
It's a fucking SCP. It can do what it fucking wants. Like in terms of its like
fair.
locomotion and shit. It could be like it's got no knees. How is it running? It's like it's an SCP.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They can do what they want.
I just imagine his legs move so fast that they're like just like a blur. It's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
But in real life.
No, 100%. Yeah, and so you're rolling sand checks. Whoever's looking at
exactly. Describing something like a cartoon makes it sound like it's silly, but if you see that shit in real life, that'd be fucked up.
It's terrifying
because it's like that doesn't make sense. Like, how?
It's you know what? A good example of that is like whenever somebody does like, cartoons in real life wouldn't be that scary. It's like Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit when he got flattened and he had to pump himself back up.
Yeah, just imagine that in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Which we did in that movie.
I mean,
we see it in live action.
Of that movie, it was still pretty silly.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That whole scene traumatized me as a child.
As a child, yes, for sure.
So yeah,
100%.
like it still fucking terrifies me. Like every time I hear, it's like, when I killed your brother, I was talking just like this. Like that's fucking like I get goosebumps just by thinking back on that.
I feel like watching that movie. like you as a kid watching that movie is the origin story for you as the cultist.
It's very possible.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, maybe
totally. Anyway, we're getting way off track here.
we are.
I like the story. I wish there was some experiments that were done on it more than just they hit it with a club, they shot it with a gun, and they set it on fire. Like they're just trying to figure out its type in Pokemon terms for what's super effective, basically.
Use tackle. It's not very effective at all.
Use gun.
No, use bullet seed. It's super effective. Use
Yeah.
flamethrower. It's super effective. Critical effectiveness.
Mm-hmm. Now that I'm thinking about it, though, when this thing animates and like destroys the pinata child that it makes, how does it do it? Like, look at the thing. That thing is gonna bludgeon something to death.
That's what's like. That's what like your mind would like. Again, we can't like it. This is the thing with like again cartoons in real life and SCP in some SCPs. It's like trying to imagine that thing, like the thing that's in the image, wreck somebody's day like a fucking freight train. How? Like, and you can't comprehend. Like, your mind like doesn't have a point of entry to that like description.
Man, there's like so many ways it could be described of what it does. Like, what if it stood up on its hind legs and like its arms kind of like stretch out longer and it grabs its unicorn horn and pulls up and it pulls out basically its spine and its unicorn and uses it as a bat.
Oh my god. Damn.
Or it just headbutts you repeatedly.
Yeah, honestly that was kind of my simple brain was just like it just rams into them repeatedly with its horn.
Yeah, it's gotta.
But I do like your much more cinematic, just like suddenly becomes like a muscle bound dude and just like rips out his horn and uses like a bat.
Yeah, it gets real swole.
Yeah, it gets super swole, super tall.
Mm-hmm. Tall and swole.
Yeah, I mean there's small, swole, tall.
That's why they make the room that high. So,
so it won't get swole. Exactly, so it won't Hulk out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm surprised how much we're getting out of this scenario.
Yeah, me too. Oh, all right, long story short of my final thoughts, because we're still on that, I'll give it a recommendation because I did really enjoy it, although I do wish there was more experimentation.
Okay. So
that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, and just to recap, 3 recommendations, but obviously there's room for improvement. I think that's honestly like probably like the most like that's probably the most accurate for us for it. It's just like it's really good. It could use some work though.
That's the TLDR for it for sure.
Would read again. Sorry, what did you say?
That's the TLDR for sure. Or TLDL. Actually,
too long did not read.
Did not listen because we're this audio format.
I guess so, yeah. So that's our week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter. Mikey's at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without that W because his name is very long.
Yup.
And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCP entries, creepy things, spooky sightings, cryptids, little works. We will talk about them, discuss them, review the stories, what have you. And if you'd like to help us support the show financially, you can go to Patreon and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. To our listeners and the authors of these entries and stories, thank you immensely. Without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void. And without your stories that you've written and shared on the internet, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So thank you all the same. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.